Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the Beardworks podcast, episode 6. As usual, me and Scads. How you going?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, same old, same old. Keen for the podcast.
For sure.
We got a couple changes this week. People might have noticed on our YouTube channel we got a new logo, little caricatures I've done. And we've also got a guest in today. We've touched on Destiny a couple times, and we've talked about one of our friends that's a bit of a psycho for Destiny. Pat, how you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries.
So, kicking off the topics, let's talk about something that we both, all three of us have actually watched, sorry. Me, obviously, a while ago, but more recently, Pat, you've been just smashed out The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. How'd you find it?
Not gonna lie to you, the first episode got me. I was very, very nervous because the horror genre doesn't really go well with me. I don't cope. But the plot of it all was just fantastic, and I just had to persevere through the horror just to really enjoy the actual story.
We've talked about it a couple times on the podcast, like hinting at Hill House. And I recently was pissing in Pap's ear to finally watch it because he's scared of horror. And he was messaging me throughout every episode as he was watching it. I'm pretty sure he liked it.
Yeah, I really, really did enjoy it. On your previous podcast, you mentioned that in the first episode, the mum running around in the background, and then you later find on why that occurred, and that really got to me. I was like, I really want to know why that occurred, and I pictured it in my head, like the scene, without actually watching Hill House, and it played out the way I imagined it, and I was like, one, scared, but two, I was very, very curious. And whenever I was watching the show and I would find like a hidden ghost or whatnot, I had to message Nick and just circle the ghost in the background and just go, oh my God, what is happening? Do you see that? And I just, it was overwhelming.
The show overall was really easy to watch, I find. And I was going to say that I watched with my partner, and she doesn't like horror movies either or horror TV shows. And she was happy to watch it because she was so intrigued by the story. And I think the cast of characters actually bring those characters to life in such a fashion that it's so easy to watch, and you want to find out what happens next in the next episode, and so forth. So overall, it was really easily bingeable, I guess you could say, because the characters are so interesting and engaging.
Yeah, the chemistry between all the actors, like, it's, as Pap said in a message to me, it's horror done right. It's not like a shitty B-grade horror movie that's like a jump scare every 5 minutes, just like a random zombie face or whatever. This, like, I don't know, the background atmosphere and like the sinister vibes, the whole show is horrific, even when there's no scares happening.
Oh, it touches on some very like personal topics that you later find out during the series. They each have their own little trauma, and no one's actually perfect, but it's just the way they interact with each other, and they don't want to try and confront their actual demons and whatnot. Like it's got the horror aspect of the actual like jump scares and the actual haunting of Hill House style, but then the actual personal stuff is really good as well.
Overall, the cast, like I said, I've said already, they absolutely killed it. And obviously, if we're going to talk about a bit like spoilers, because if you haven't seen it, it's been out for a while now, go definitely watch it. But obviously, that one of the siblings is killed off earlier in the show, I should say. And from then, I think the pace really picks up, and that's when it explores all the background of all the characters, including the father. And we're not exactly sure what happened on that fateful night, but as the story continues, it shows more and more comes to light, and it is quite horrifying to see what happened. But it's not to a point where you want to turn away because it's such an interesting story. So overall, it was really good seeing the chemistry between the characters. Like you were saying, Nick, they just did really well, and that's what they brought the characters to life.
The dad definitely got the raw end of the deal in that whole like life. He had to deal with all the stuff when the mum offed herself. Then at the end, he had to make the sacrifice and keep the family together. Oh, the dad was just ice skating uphill the entire show.
Oh, it's the best way to put it. You look at the past of the dad in the past and in the future. It was just never working out well. He knew something was up in the past, but he just couldn't put his finger on it. And then in the future, you just go, wow, like what's he now? How come the kids hate him that much and just don't want to bar of him? And then you just find out all the stuff with him and Steve in the car near the end of the season, explaining it all. You're like, okay, wow, he actually went through a lot as well.
He like literally took every bullet for those kids. They got some scares, but he literally was on the front lines of it all. I felt
He took the
just
fall. Yeah.
yeah, definitely the
And
hero of the show. Like
well, I
quite
remember what
hero.
I was going to say when I remember watching it and that last episode, I was actually quite. It was actually quite upsetting to see him that he sacrificed himself at the end so his kids could live, and he chose to stay back. To think that that was the one thing he had to do, and for like you're saying, like he protected the children for so long, and he wore the brunt of everything, and was seemed like he was the bad man. He'd done everything wrong, and he couldn't save their mother, and it was a terrible way to set up his character, and to see how well he handled it overall in the long run, and for him to make the final sacrifice. He's like the back end of his life was actually pretty grim.
Yeah, same as the Dudleys. Like they lost their kid, and then they had to stay on the property for no pay just to see the kid's ghost. Like, oh, the whole show's so emotional. It's just one hit after another. It's a barrage.
Oh, it's an emotional ride because you go, okay, it's gonna be a horror film. You kind of assume that some people are gonna die, not many people are gonna make it, and then the more you get through the season, the story picks up, and some character arcs pick up a lot more, and you just go, okay, what's happening now? Like it's now I feel sorry for these people. Like it's not their fault. The Dudleys, when you find out the little spoiler at the end about their daughter, that was a big revelation. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I don't know because they kind of set up the Dudleys throughout the start. Like they're just like weirdo groundskeepers and maid. They're just strange, but then you find out why they're actually there, and it's just like every dot connects, every T gets crossed, every I gets dotted. It's just I don't know. The ending is wicked. I thought I've heard a couple of people not like it, like Russ. He didn't like the ending, but
Yeah, I think the way you look at it, they did a really good job. The cast were top notch. The story was top notch. The acting obviously was top notch. It was just an overall great horror show for Netflix to really put out. And obviously, being all released at once, be able to binge watch it was such an awesome experience. Not like you don't have to wait week by week and see what happened. You can watch, smash out all the episodes, and the story is just one overarching, I guess, great telling of this family that experienced great loss early on in their life as children, and the sacrifices that their father made to get them where they were, and for them obviously to most of them to make it out alive. So overall, great little series, and I'm really excited to see what they do with season 2. Not saying it's going to be The Haunting of Hill House. We already know that's been changed to The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is released on October 31st apparently this year.
yeah, I don't know. Lightning never strikes twice in the same spot, but I feel like this director and cast is going to pull it off. First one was so good. Even if the second one's half as good, it's going to be wicked.
Yeah, fingers crossed they can pull it together. And obviously it's got a following behind it. Majority of people liked it, so hopefully they'll come along to watch this second coming of another horror TV show. Maybe it might be, we never know, there might be more horror aspects to it. I'm just hoping that the story is just as good and that the characters are well fleshed out as in the season 1, because that's what really killed it for me. No pun intended. So
Yeah, well, speaking of another thing that hopefully doesn't kill any of us is Destiny, the current state of Destiny.
yeah,
We've said it before. We have a friend that is obsessed with it, and that's Pap, who you've heard talking already. So, Pap, what do you got to say about Destiny right now? What's going on?
Basically, it's just transitioning for the new year because they're vaulting a bunch of weapons that you guys mentioned last episode. And the reason for that is because it's just so generic. Whatever lobby you join into, any PvE event, it's just mountaintop, recluse, and then right now it's swords. But before that, it was Wendigo, Xenophage, Anarchy, 1000 Voices, all the top tier DPS weapons, and it just got really repetitive. And it's like, what's the point of having an action RPG game when you're only going to use like 10 out of the 10,000 weapons? It's like playing Borderlands, but like only using 3 weapons the whole time and never like changing.
Yeah, I've definitely heard you get pretty heated playing. I just don't know if I want to see the recluse go. I love that thing, but
I'm okay with it going. I've got there are different submachine guns that I got from the previous season and that are currently in this season's loot pool that actually have pretty good rolls. And the thing that made Recluse really good was the Master of Arms perk it had. That really made it the crucial thing where reload speed and DPS got really buffed. But I reckon like the new submachine guns and the older ones, like now they're getting those similar perks and more diverse perks that you can use them instead. And plus, with the Seventh Seraph submachine gun from last season, you can create Warmind cells still, and then still have a Warmind cell build. So that's still pretty good.
yeah, I
Well,
definitely don't know much about all these builds and perks and stuff like you guys. I kind of just like follow the leader. You guys tell me mainly what to do.
That's the only thing I'm really chasing is just a good build. Like like last season, I ran a very heavy arc build because I kept on creating Warmind cells. I kept on regenerating health, and I was killing a lot of enemies with area of effect. But now I don't know what I'm doing this season because there's a good void build, but it's more mainly for like big team PVE stuff. But I'll mainly play solo because I don't want to keep annoying you guys to come play with me. Trying to find a good solo build I can run, but right now it's looking back to using the arc build again or this solo build that I haven't tried out. But that's the unique thing about it.
Do you reckon you're going to stay as a Titan? Because I've seen you been playing as a Warlock a little bit, but I
Oh,
don't
that
really
was
know.
last season. They had a really really fun Warlock solo build. Um,
Yeah.
but I wanna max out my Titan as much as I can this season, and then I'll look to play on my Warlock and then have a bit of a play around with him. But mainly, I just want to start with the Titan, build him up first.
do you think that the way that Destiny is going, there's a lot to look forward to?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, like they've cut from Activision halfway through last year, and they know if they want to keep the player base and keep everyone happy, they've got to keep being creative and whatnot. No one expected a new dungeon to be released this season. That was really cool. I haven't played it yet myself because um, I'm 20 levels over the recommended, but I know the final boss battle is at 1040 minimum. So I want to just try and get a bit stronger, just so I'm not, grinding my teeth and smashing controllers, trying to kill the boss. But Bungie have got to, keep it fresh and vibrant. And the main thing is that the story needs to be, enjoyable to play because the lore of Destiny is actually really interesting. But the only way to experience it is either by reading the Grimoire cards, which no one wants to do, or you go to YouTube and then listen to someone who actually reads them to you. And I'm like, okay, so I've paid for this game, and my only chance of experiencing the story is by going to YouTube and watching someone else read it to me, or I read it myself. I would like to actually play a mission and then see a cinematic and then go, wow, that's really cool. This is what I'm actually working towards. This is what the whole Destiny universe is about right now.
I think
Yes. Yeah. Okay, you
I
go.
was going to say that the experience of Destiny 2 has been a bit lackluster, I find, from Destiny 1. And Pap and I played a shit ton of Destiny 1. We enjoyed it. We played every week, every reset. We did heaps and we did the raids. And that's the one thing I haven't touched much this year was the raids and also on Destiny 2 in general. But the overall experience, I feel like, is a bit dimmed down compared to Destiny 1. And I think that's because we're so used to what Destiny 1 had to offer. When it came to Destiny 2 and they changed up things, a lot of people weren't on board with that. And maybe it does take a little while to change that over. And I do agree that some of the changes have been good. But in saying that, I have not played as much Destiny 2 as Destiny 1. That might be due to lifestyle changes with work and stuff, but the experience is just not the same with me. And I do enjoy Destiny 2. I think it's a great game. But obviously with this new DLC, or what you want to call it, the Season of Arrivals, it is a season obviously. Activision being cut from the overall picture takes a lot of funding away from Bungie. So I understand they can't release massive content every 3 months or so. So obviously with the new DLC coming out later this year, hopefully that's going to be something really big changes. Obviously they're already showing that you get different kind of subclasses coming up using the darkness. But I keep harping back to the same thing in Destiny 1 is that I'm waiting for the DLC to drop. That was the Taken King DLC with the Dreadnought, because the Dreadnought was such a great DLC. I remember venturing around on that huge hive ship and thinking, this is one of the best things I've ever played. Just running around and finding little crook and nannies hiding in the corner, little secret tunnels. It was just a really good experience. And I know, John, you played a lot of it, and what are your thoughts so far compared to the DLC that's dropped in Destiny 2 to Destiny 1?
Well, if you want to compare Shadowkeep to Taken King, there's no chance in hell. Like, even Forsaken, as cool as that was nowhere near Taken King. Taken King literally, like, formatted Destiny and then started again, but better. It was that good of a DLC. But I reckon, because Shadowkeep came out after they split with Activision, so I would say Season of Opulence, or Shadowkeep, Season of the Undying, the Savior, Dawn, whatever it's called, Worthy, Rivals. They're all really really small, and I reckon this one here, Beyond Light, is going to be a pretty big one. I reckon this might be the actual Taken King one. I reckon they've had enough time to actually build a big planet and big areas for us to explore and have all these questions and all these little areas we want to discover to find better loot and all these exotic challenges that we want to try and do. I reckon they'll actually pull it off with this big DLC. And now that they've actually stated what the next 2 DLCs after this will be called, I reckon they're in it for the long haul. I reckon they're going to go big every September DLC. I reckon they're going to commit to that, and then we're going to have those little mini seasons. But I reckon now, starting with Beyond Light, it's going to be Taken King-esque.
We want to hope so, because they're taking away planets. They're taking away more areas for us to run around in.
They are, but they're cycling old Destiny 1 content through, which is really good to hear. But I remember Luke Smith, the director, he was talking about that he wants to do the Vault of Glass, but then incorporate champions into the raid to make it more difficult. So that's pretty cool. But like, what's the weapons going to be? Am I going to get my old Fatebringer back? Am I going to get Vision of Confluence? Like, what's the point of me running these raids again? Because right now you're running raids and strikes constantly to get better armor, to get better weapons, is like, the god roll. But what if I'm going to get a static roll Fatebringer that's got the good old perks? Like, is that it? Am I going to use my Destiny 1 weapons again in Destiny 2? Like, what's the alternative motive here? Why are they recycling old content? I get it that Destiny 2's like file size is near maximum on the consoles. I'm pretty sure. Is that how it works?
I'm not exactly sure.
So that's why I have to delete, vault some planets and activities. So they're getting rid of the whole Leviathan raid and some other stuff. So I just want to know what the purpose of it is. Like, is it going to connect back to the story? Like, are we going to be able to kill Oryx again, but then get a different dialogue and they tell us he's not really dead or whatnot?
It will be interesting to see what they do. Destiny, like, as a whole, has been such a great and joyful ride. Has its ups and downs. We've been through it all. I myself have not played every season of Destiny 2 due to the fact that I didn't see there was enough content for me to want to go back and play it when there was other games being released at the same time. But the overall enjoyment of the game is still there because its core aspects are still there. And that's why eventually I go back. And I'm obviously really keen for the new DLC. That's when it's released in September. And obviously with the big DLC coming out in the next 2 years as well. But I don't think there's going to be a Destiny 3. I think the whole idea was that the reason it was going to be there was going to be a Destiny 3 was because Activision was still hooked onto it and they like releasing the big numbers. So now that Activision is gone, Bungie can do what they originally planned, which was be sort of like a long-lasting game. Like for a good game to think about, it's probably like World of Warcraft, or even on a very smaller basis would be Rainbow Six Siege, where it's the same game, same gameplay, just releasing more, like in their situation, more operators to be used. And because they got the core gameplay at its perfect point, they don't have to change it. They can just release more content. So I think that's what Destiny's going towards.
Oh, 100% agree. Like, Destiny 3 is dead in the water after they announced the next 2 DLCs, or the next 3 DLCs across the next 3 years, this year being one of them. Destiny 3 is gone. But I reckon that Forever Changing World is going to be really interesting. But the last DLC that they mentioned was like something referring to your lightness is gone, so there's no more light. So like I reckon that's a bit of a spoiler. Like, what's the point of us doing all this DLC if at the end of it our light's going to be gone? So you're telling me in 2023 that we're we're back at square one again. The darkness has taken over. So it's a touchy topic to talk about, because at the start of Destiny 2, the Cabal take over the Traveler and banish or take away all the light. Okay, so then what's the final bit going to mean? Like, the darkness wins, and then how do we beat them again if we've got no light? It's a very interesting thing to talk about, but worry that for another couple of years now.
Well, I think if we talk about Destiny as a whole, I reckon there was an original plot released that was scrapped, where it was the stranger that we haven't seen in all of Destiny 2, except for the latest trailer of Beyond Light that comes out in September. She was part of a group that used to be Guardians that had turned their back on the Traveler because they found out that the Traveler was not pure good, I should say, and that the power came from a more malice side of a being, I guess, and that the speaker, who actually we know is dead, is he? Like, there's no other talk about him after the release of Destiny 2. Once the Cabal invaded the Red Legion, that he was actually, obviously, he's the speaker with the Traveler. He's the one that's most connected, I'm guessing, and he obviously dies. But there's talk that in this plot that was scrapped, that he was actually a bad guy, and that at the very end of Destiny as a whole, you'd fight against the Traveler and his minions, apparently, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know they used to say that the Fallen, if you listen to their audio clips, that they say they're afraid of the light. You don't know why, but we've always known the Fallen as enemies. But sometimes I think the idea is that they're afraid of the Traveler for a reason that we don't know.
That's what Destiny needs. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say the Fallen, they actually are pissed off with the people of, like, Earth in our solar system, because the Traveler didn't go to the Fallen, they came to us. And that's why the Fallen really do hate us. But interesting thing, do you remember that mission on Titan where you see that Fallen captain fight the Hive Knight, and then you can kill one of them? If you kill the Hive Knight and don't shoot the captain will just leave. Do you remember that mission?
I do, yeah.
Anyway, so that guy there, he was actually the secret guy in the farm that you do the Outback Perfected quest.
Yeah,
he's that Fallen captain, and his new house is the House of Light. So he's a Fallen who's assigned with the House of Light, and the new enemy Fallen for the upcoming DLC, she's the captain that tried to break into the tower and get the outbreak perfected in that mission. So that's a bit of an interesting fact about the Fallen right there.
So they're bringing everything back. This new DLC's, they're going to try to fix all the shit by the sounds of it.
What do you want, Nick, from it? Because obviously me and Pat played a lot of Destiny 1 and we're invested. Not so, well, myself, not so much at the moment because the DLC is a bit bland, or the season, sorry. But you as a person, or as a gamer who's played a bit of Destiny 1, but majority of Destiny 2, what do you want to see? What's going to draw you back in?
Well, my Destiny experience, like, for ages now, has just been helping you guys with stuff. Like, I don't care about the story or anything. Obviously, I'm grinding all these, just getting all these guns like you guys. But I want some story content that I care about. There's just nothing that's bringing me in right now. I want something to, like, grab my attention.
Oh, it's a very hard thing to bring a new person into the story of Destiny, because all the stories on YouTube or in the lore cards, you get nothing from playing the campaigns. It is literally pointless. The cinematics are very bland. The character interactions are boring. Like, I'm on my phone half the time, and then I just go to YouTube and listen to My Name is Bife just tell me what happens, and because he refers back to the lore cards, I'm like, oh, so that's really what's happening in the story. So what I'm seeing on my TV is not actually relevant, and I can skip past it.
I think if you think, sorry, I'm mumbled up at the moment, but the one thing that I'd like to see in Destiny would be using your ship in battle, like a space battle. That'd be kind of cool. They show it a little bit at the start of the Red War of the Destiny 2, where you're just flying around your ship, and there's another one when the when the Taken come. No, I'm not sure when it was. It must be in Destiny 1. Yeah. But I feel a space battle would be really cool, and I'd really like to think it'd be start of a raid or start of a strike where you'll start off in your ships, the 6 of you or the 3 of you, depending if it's a strike or a raid, and you're gonna fight your way through like a massive fleet, and then it's sort of like you guys in Halo Legends, the final episode in the Halo Legends little one-shot thing, where you have the Master Chief and his Spartan team flying on the, I forget what they're called, but they're like, there's got the Gauss cannon or whatever it's called, and that looks so cool. They're all flying around shooting enemies. Music's awesome. I think that'd be really cool if they did like a Destiny version of that, where you could actually fly in, do some stuff. You might have to attack certain ships on the way through. You might have to do certain challenges to get all the way to that mothership, and that's when the raid kicks off as soon as you land in there. Like just have like a massive explosive entry, which would be really cool. But yeah, I'm really keen to see what they do with this new DLC. It would draw me in. I'll play it for sure. But whether I stick around and play it for months on end it's a bit hard. It's a bit hard to say these days because there's so many other good games out and that demand your attention. Case in point, The Last of Us Part 2, just spent the last 2 weeks smashing that out. And
I finished that today as well. Very, very good. That's another episode though.
Yeah, for sure. And I reckon next episode we'll be doing a whole The Last of Us breakdown of the first game and the second game and how we felt about it.
Yep.
But back to Destiny. What are the long-term aspect of the game? Obviously, we know what they're going to release, but I was listening to a guy on YouTube the other day talk about saying what he thinks that what will happen with Destiny when it finishes up. And the one thing he brought up was that it'll be like World of War Classic. If World of War Classic, what am I talking about? What's a new classic game that just came out that's been remastered for PC? World of Warcraft Classic. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Vanilla WoW.
Yeah. And so what he was trying to say is that Destiny will finish up because they're apparently Bungie are working on a new game that's coming out in 2024, I think, or 2023. And that's going to be their next big hit. Well, not big hit, but their next big game that they focus on. So they're saying that Destiny will finish up within the next 2 years, roughly 2 to 3 years. And that it'll go away for a little while. And then they'll bring out Destiny Classic. And it'll just be like the old Destiny 1, 2, straight through the whole campaign and stuff, and then you got all the other stuff you can play on the side, all the raids and dungeons and all that kind of stuff. All that content will be available for one price, which I think a lot of people would go back and play because it's such a great experience. And if you passed up playing Destiny raids, especially like the first Destiny, those raids are some of the best multiplayer experiences that you could ever have. And I'll say that to the day I die because I still remember the first time beating Oryx. Spent hours doing it. Not that Oryx was a massive challenge, but at the time when we beat him, it was tough. It was good fun. And I remember defeating Crota. Crota was so much fun as well. And the Vault of Glass is just one of the most beautiful experiences.
Atheon. Oh god.
Push him off the edge, that's what they used to say. But the weapons in that game, like the Destiny 1 is just a masterclass. Like, and I know they didn't get it right from the very get-go, but they nurtured it and they got it where it needed to be. And yeah, I can understand why they, like you're saying, they're refurbishing the old stuff and bringing it back out, re-releasing it in the Destiny 2 format. But I can see them, and I know that a lot of people have said it too, that in future concepts they'll release like a vanilla version of it, or not vanilla at all, but the classic, and you'll have all the stuff on it. You can go back and play it, bring people back in. Might only be for a shorter period of time, but technology will be that far advanced in the next 5 years that they're ready to cram it all into one download. So
yeah, that'd be a lot of hours going through everything from start to finish again. Jesus. I don't even know how long I've played on Destiny 2, but not as much as you guys. And I feel like I've played it a lot.
Well, let's, just while we got Pap here, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One and Xbox Series X and his thoughts and his ideals he's going to go forward with both consoles.
I know we've touched on us at the moment, and we're both pretty keen on the PlayStation at the moment. We've got the Xbox event coming up on the 23rd, but I know Pap's an Xbox boy. He loves his box. So, what's your thoughts?
Well, PlayStation have literally killed Xbox this generation, and right now looking to kill them in the next generation. I just don't understand what Microsoft are doing. Do they not see what's actually happening out there? Do they not see the exclusives, and that's the only thing people are talking about? Like I played Gears of War 5. I did the first 2 or 3 missions, and I put it down. I'm like, wow, so this is an Xbox exclusive, eh? Well, I look over to my PlayStation, look at God of War. I'm like, yep, this is what I'm comparing it to. Awesome.
Kratos against Marcus Phoenix are just, it's not even a contest. Gears of War 5 was so dismal and shit. Like, I finished it, and I would not care if I never ever saw Gears of War ever again, because it was that left a bitter taste in my mouth.
Like you said on the previous podcast, Gears of War is a trilogy.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
what they're doing now is just beating a dead horse. It's just the story's over. Everyone's happy. You don't need to make up stuff now, and this person's related to this person. It's just not needed.
Who cares? I don't care remember what the girl's name is, and she's related to Mira, the Locust Queen. Who cares? No one gives a shit about Gears of War lore past 3.
And with Halo, they've got to make Halo Infinite the best game ever made if they want to have a chance of even being, in the top 10 games for next generation. Because Halo 5 was cool to look at. It was, annoying to play. I did not enjoy the gameplay of Halo 5. It wasn't fun. This was like Call of Duty in 110 years' time.
It really worries me when you think back to how many cool games were back on the original Xbox and then also on the Xbox 360. Xbox One X or the Xbox One had some good games too. But what really worries me in the long-term fact is that these games were trilogies, what we've spoken about with Gears of War and Halo. The best games of this series are the original trilogy. Anything more than that, and they sort of like saying they're beating a dead horse, and it really worries me that they keep going back to these old IPs to try and bring people in, when you should really start to look at bringing in new original IPs, sort of like what PlayStation did with. Well, The Last of Us obviously came out on the PlayStation 3, got remastered on the PlayStation 4, and now The Last of Us Part 2 is on PlayStation 4. That's only 2 games though, but they were 7 years apart. So people were still keen to play them. Halo's been going on a long time now, and like we were saying, the trilogy was really good. Halo 4 was okay. Halo 5, not a massive fan of. And Halo Infinite looks interesting, but we've seen a lot of Halo, and it's the same as the Uncharted series. They finished that up, and I don't think they're going to push on with that anymore. And then the Gears of War, obviously, that's always, for some reason, they just think that's just always going to be a winner, which it's just old now. It doesn't need to be around anymore. They should look at making more independent IPs.
That's
big
why I
issue
think.
with sorry, Nick.
You go.
The big issue with Xbox taking their time to get exclusives is that all the good ideas are going straight to PlayStation. Like Xbox can't release, anything Spider-Man related because PlayStation's got that. They can't release anything Norse mythology because that's God of War right now. They've taken too long, and all the good ideas can be taken up by the Sony IPs, and they're going to be the ones releasing those really cool and creative games, whereas Xbox can be releasing the same old stuff.
That's interesting what you just said about Spider-Man and Xbox. The new Avengers game is going to be on both. So does that mean if there's Spider-Man DLC, it's going to be Sony exclusive?
Nah, surely not.
I don't think they got I don't think they got the full rights to, like, it's not like a Fox and Marvel kind of thing, but they won't be able to use this. I don't think they'll use the same universe. It'd be kind of cool because then they might bring out Spider-Man Miles Morales on both consoles, but obviously PlayStation will hold that firm because I think the next generation of games we're looking at, they're going to really start focusing back onto single player stories because that's what's going to sell consoles. If you look at the past, we spoke about the games that were on PlayStation 4 and that what really sold it for the top 5 or 10 games we spoke about. But Horizon's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. And obviously Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Probably go back to PS4 as well, as say, to bump up those sales. But the feeling is, I think the things that are going to sell the most these days are a really simple game like Call of Duty Warzone, which is like a battle royale that you can jump on, play shitloads of game with, and play with your mates and stuff like that, and not get too bored or get super bored and rage, one of the two. Or you have those single player games where you can focus in on character development, a really good story, and like trying to build that relationship with each one of the characters. I think The Last of Us has done really well so far in both games, and probably Horizon Zero Dawn, because I think the way people play video games these days has changed a lot. I think you either got a lot of time to play those games, and because they're streaming and YouTube content and it's available for anybody to do, those single player games, everyone likes to see reactions and people how they feel and emotionally connected to those characters. So I think we're going into an age now or generation where single player games will start to boom again, and there will be a story, not like Call of Duty Black Ops 4 with no campaign and just multiplayer.
Yeah, you're definitely right. PlayStation and those single player stories is definitely what sold it, and I think that's definitely a theme that I think has to continue forward. Single player, I enjoy single player more than multiplayer. I know, like playing with you guys and stuff, but you get a good story, it gets you. It really gets you.
I remember when God of War came out. None of us wanted to buy the PlayStation Online subscription so we could talk to each other in private chat. So we're all on Xbox party chat, but all playing God of War on our PlayStations.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure it got to the point where we just didn't want to be in a party chat because we just wanted to be immersed in the story. Just because, you know, it's that single player thing. Like, you want to know what's happening with Kratos and his son. And it's just, you actually get, you know, overwhelmed, shall I say.
It's one of the best games ever made.
For sure.
I prefer God of War 2.
No, you don't.
John's played all of them.
I've played all of them a lot. I really do like God of War 2. I was thinking about it today. I'm like, I reckon God of War 2 and then number 3 and then God of War, this one.
Jesus.
I know.
Oh, but you are a sucker for Greek stuff, though.
Don't know why.
Typical.
For people that don't know, Pap is Greek.
The majority of the God of War games are really cool. Greek mythology is one of the best, or is probably the best mythology.
I reckon people need to go back to YouTube and look at the God of War 2 cutscenes and just take a minute and go, this was released on PlayStation 2. Are you kidding me? Because when I remember like playing it in 2007 and I was just like, what is this game? They've just taken God of War, the first one, and just jacked it up with steroids and just made it that much better. I'm like, how is this even possible? And then when God of War 3 came out in 2010, I'm pretty sure, it was just to another level as well. I just couldn't believe it. But yeah.
I think one game one series that could really use a God of War kind of like remaster or reboot would be Prince of Persia.
Oh, 100%.
Especially like the Warrior Within, the second game, was just like a brutal game, and the character design was so cool. I loved like the leather vest and the armor, the dual weapons. Oh, just such a cool game, and that game could do with like a God of War remaster type thing.
Be great if Xbox, took that aboard.
If you're listening, Xbox, please do this. It'd make a lot of money.
We've only got 7 subscribers right now, so I'm pretty sure Xbox would be one of them.
Surely.
That's what we should say. Anybody listening, please subscribe and give us a like. It does help us out.
Yeah. Get that. I don't know how much AdSense we've made already, but we've probably got like half a cent. So
we're well on our way. We're about 10 years away from making our first $1 paycheck.
Yeah, well, frozen Cokes don't come for free.
I'm just waiting till I get a discount to play Raid Shadow Legends from you guys.
Well, that's a little secret that we got to keep between ourselves, but we talk about it all the time, that the one sponsor we would love to have one day to feel that we've really made it as a podcasting channel and as a crew would be to get Raid Shadow Legends on here. I mean,
I just want my friends to be able to use my code and get free silver sign up. Like, free legendary hero, like free advertising already, Raid. Come on.
I know. Like, this one's for free. We won't be mentioning it again until you guys come to us, please.
Literally, we just got 7 people to download Raid Shadow Legends. You kind of already owe us, but I'll let it slide this time.
But yeah, I mean, overall, this was a pretty good podcast, I believe. Getting somebody on makes it a bit more, less pressure on us, just to say. Puts more pressure on somebody else to do some of the talking.
I was quite pressured, shall I say.
But yeah, I think that wraps up episode 6. Pap, how was your first time chatting to us on podcast?
Pretty nervous, but then I was more nervous when you started asking me Destiny questions. Like, oh god, what am I going to say?
Had to quickly get Dado up on the phone.
Dado, Bife, Rick Kakis.
But yeah, no, we do appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we're looking at doing more focused podcasts in the future as well. I think the next one we're going to be talking about is The Last of Us, because we've both just finished that today. So super keen to talk about that and Nick's thoughts and my thoughts on it, and then hopefully some other people that are listening and they can chip in their bits and pieces in the comment section. But overall, yeah, thanks for coming on, Pap.
Thanks for having me.
Catch you guys.
Cheers.